In the original Railway series story Leaves, you may recall this conversation between James's crew after slipping down the hill.
He sat down and mopped his face. "I've never known that happen before." "I have," said the fireman, "in Bincombe Tunnel, southern region."
With this mention, I went and searched to try and find the real-life inspiration for the story, only to find there were several noted incidents and had become a reoccurring issue in Bincombe Tunnel. The first example, and likely the one used by the Rev. W. Awdry, was printed in the January 7, 1938 issue of the Railway Gazette. On June 18, 1910, a London and South Western train departed Weymouth for Waterloo. It was a heavy load, consisting of 7 bogie coaches, with most of the passengers being sailors on leave. There had been a sea mist that morning, making the rails greasy, and there was concern if the engine would be able to climb the 1 in 50 gradient to Bincombe. But all went well as the train left Upwey Junction and entered the tunnel. As described by a passenger, the train was almost out of the tunnel when the engine slipped, but seemed to recover. As the train did not emerge, he went to the window, but was unable to see through the smoke and darkness. On stepping back, he was amazed to see the smoke entering the window from the direction of Weymouth, and then saw daylight at the rear of the train. There was a set of catch points at the entrance to the tunnel, and 5 of the coaches were sent off the line. Owing to the slippery state of the rails, the engine had been dragged backwards by the weight of the train without the driver being aware of it. The passengers were alarmed at the unexpected bumping along the sleepers, with one opening a door and jumping out. Fortunately, the train had been going slow, and there were no injuries, with little damage being done to the track and coaches. There was a considerable amount of delay, with trains having to stop at Upwey and pass through on the down line, whilst passengers in the derailed coaches were taken by Great Western Rail motors to Dorchester. A breakdown gang had the up line cleared and repaired the following morning. 2 more similar incidents in Bincombe Tunnel followed in 1945 and 1947. Both engines slipped on wet rails and were pulled back by their trains to the catch points, where the rear coaches came off. These rescue operations had become so routine to men of the Great Western, they had once taken their own initiative without reference to higher authority, as told by O.S. Knock in post-nationalization days. On August 16, 1951, a Southern Railway West Country Pacific was hauling the Weymouth portion of the Royal Wessex Express. Characteristically, the engine slipped in the tunnel, slivered out backwards, and the rear bogie of the last coach went through the catch points, this time into a lengthy sand drag, where it became stuck. The firemen walked through the tunnel to report their predicament to the signalman, who then telephoned Dorchester. Without letting Control know, the station master ordered the crew of a Hull-class engine to uncouple from their train and go to Bincombe. They coupled on to the Bully Pacific, but the 2 engines could not move the train out of the sand drag. Meanwhile, a down Great Western goods train had arrived at Dorchester, hauled by a Grange 460. It, too, was uncoupled from its train and went to Bincombe. With the 2 Great Western engines coupled together, they successfully lifted the Bully Pacific and its coaches out of the sand drag. The following day, the Southern rang up the Bristol Divisional Superintendent to thank him for his assistance, and it was the first time the latter was hearing about it. The Great Western Station Master at Dorchester, having cleared the obstruction, never thought to report the incident to his boss.
"I thought you could climb hills," he chuckled. James didn't answer. He had no steam.